Hey everyone, welcome back to the Life Theory Podcast. Today is a special episode because we're bringing in, or we have brought in, an actual certified expert on today's topic.
Yeah.
Turns out... It's you! You're
the expert! Sorry, wow. That sounded super prideful.
No, he does actually have a certification on
I do.
today's topic.
Specifically the side that we're talking about.
Yes.
We are talking, as you saw in the title, what is autism? And this is a world I've been in for about a year and a half. Or, no, just over a year. Officially. Mm-hmm. And then unofficially with my brother for another, 6 years before that? I don't remember. Wait, how old is he? Never mind. Whoa, like 12 years before that.
He's 13. Or 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you meant, like, that's how long we've realized.
No, we realized it at about 5.
Okay,
that he was different.
8.
So, like 8 years. So, total 9.5 years. 1 year being certified and actually having what I'd consider secular, conventional medical knowledge of it. And 8 years of just like, who is this guy?
And my knowledge base is I'm around this guy a lot. So, and I looked up the definition of autism.
Yes. So, usually it's fairly back and forth. Mm-hmm. This one, for lack of information, would be a little more one-sided.
A little bit more, yeah.
But still, we're still gonna both together, try to talk about what is autism and why do I care?
Yeah.
Why do I care what it is? Let's start with the definition.
So, the definition of autism is: autism spectrum disorder is a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, communicate, learn, and behave. And Silas's definition of autism is like having a car you don't know how to drive.
Yeah, so it's like different than... So we were talking about depression and anxiety. And those are problems that you need to fix.
Yeah.
Right? And we're showing from the Bible why they are real problems, but they're problems with solutions. Autism is a little different. That's why I use the car analogy. Anxiety, depression, anger, all of these is like having something broken on your car. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's not working right. No matter how well you try to drive your car, if your wheel's fallen off, it's not going to drive well.
Yeah.
Versus autism is you're in some car from India that has all different controls, and there's a motorcycle steering bar instead of a steering wheel, and you have no clue what you're driving.
And everybody drives on every side of the road.
Yeah. Which is the most imperfect example, but
yeah.
Basically, rather than being broken, you're different.
I guess a better example with that analogy would be like here's an airplane, fly it.
Yeah.
You've seen airplanes, but you've never actually been like, yeah, here it is.
Yep. And everyone's also just telling you to drive the airplane on the freeway.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, just drive. I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's a interesting topic, but also a misunderstood topic. Mm-hmm. And so what I want to do is, from a Christian perspective, get rid of some of the misconceptions. There's one that I just thought of that we didn't add, that I'll just add after the fact. The first is autism is fake. Now, I haven't heard this much, but I've heard it some. which is, are you sure? I heard someone say, "Are you sure it's not just boys being boys?" And this person had an autistic son and a neurotypical son, and those two acted completely different.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. There's multiple kids like that I work with that can't talk. There's ones that can't do anything independently, even if things that they want to do. They want to eat, but they can't open the milk, or they don't, so there's a lot of comprehension and things that don't develop as well, or they want to make friends, but they don't know how to talk properly. And so it was fun, actually, just today. One of my kids, who is completely, he uses a tablet to say all his words, and he doesn't really interact with other kids that much. He wants to. He's like a complete extrovert. He's always like, hey,
Yeah.
and he, like, even one of our kids, he came up with a completely separate, it was a celebrity in his talker, because the kid's name wasn't in there, so he hit the celebrity's name instead to mean that kid.
Oh, that's great.
So complete extrovert, and he was finally playing with another kid. They're playing with, like, scooters and painting rocks, and it was great. But usually he can't, just because of a barrier.
Yeah. So it's the misconception is that autism is fake, mostly because with many people who have what I'm just going to throw this out there as severe autism, which I understand there's
You're correct. It's they call it a spectrum, so it's like low functioning, but they call it severe autism. That's actually the correct term.
Oh, okay, well, perfect.
That's one of the correct terms, yeah.
Even from what I've seen, even people with severe autism, they don't usually have any physical I can't think of the right word, but
physical disabilities.
Yeah, they like, for example, people who have Down syndrome.
Yeah.
You can look at them and just visually tell that person has Down syndrome because it affects them physically.
Or like brain damage that affects the nervous system, so they have difficulty walking. Then those you can see, okay, that person is different.
Yeah. And so, understandably, when you see a person and they're just acting a little weird, you're like, well,
they're just
they
weird.
look fine.
They look fine.
They're weird.
Yeah.
People are weird. So autism must be fake.
Yeah, and this is mostly, I'll say it's, the autism is fake. It's mostly with what's called like high functioning autism, what used to be called Asperger's. So maybe some people know that term better.
Okay, yeah.
And saying like that doesn't exist, and that's just social awkwardness.
But it's like it says, it's a neurological and developmental disorder, which that's it's literally the brain is affected.
Yeah.
Like, one thing I've heard is that somebody who had a severe severe autism, and they were nonverbal, they were able to communicate by, like, somebody stuck a computer in front of them, they just typed me. So but through that and through communicating with the people around them, they were able to explain how that autism is like, because we, as what you would call neurotypical, we have filters in our brain. There's a train going by, train, brain filters that out if we're focused on this. We're at a park, there's some kids playing on the playground, there's some dogs over there barking, maybe the train is going by. We're talking with somebody, having a conversation, we filter those out because it's not important. Whereas autism has no filters. Their
Yep.
brain, that's part of the developmental disorder. Their brain did not develop
A filter. Yeah.
filters.
And that's something where, again, when you're a little baby, you have no filter.
Yeah.
You hear everything, you think of everything. When you're a little kid, you have no filter on what comes out of you. and so you say everything. And that's like why it's so important to shelter young children. And like you said, it's developmental. So with autism, some or all of that lack of filter could still be present. And the same is true with all skills. That's why in like people with less severe autism, a lot of it comes up in social and behavioral things, because that's the last thing that your brain develops.
Yeah.
So it's like first it's like motor skills, then it's the overall like memory and consciousness and like how to get your needs met, and then it's like independence and doing stuff for yourself and being aware of danger, and then it's social things. So that's why a lot of people, even once they're very highly developed, still have issues with social things.
Yeah. Which, so
that's the first one.
Autism is not fake. But then that kind of leads into the next misconception, that autism is caused by vaccines.
Yeah. I am actually not nearly as strong, I would say, on this stance as maybe some other medical practitioners. So the data is autism doesn't cause vaccines don't cause autism. And it's proven over and over, because if you take the examples of autism being caused by vaccines and you take out factors like how often they visit the doctor, and other like neurological issues, or how easy healthcare is to access there, then like the majority of it goes away. And there's like it's marginally one way or another depending on what study it is. An example I like to use is, according to that study, my brother, who did not get vaccinated, according to the study, is not autistic. Let me explain. Because he was never diagnosed. So because he was never diagnosed with autism, he would be put in the bucket of people who were not diagnosed with autism and who were not vaccinated. So technically, my brother, due to my parents not feeling the need to get him diagnosed and rather to just help him and understand him, he's technically not autistic because he wasn't diagnosed. And so there you see, that's an issue with that idea. Now, I don't think that any of this artificial stuff helps.
Yeah.
So if it's developmental, we have tied a lot of it to genetics. The worse your body is, the more likely you could have bad genetics. The more likely you are to ruin it. Like, you can inherit like diabetes, you can inherit heart problems from people having bad genetics, but a lot of that comes from abuse of the body.
Yeah.
And so if someone were to say, well, are you saying vaccines are good? I would say, in a lot of situations, for a lot of reasons, I would say no. And in some situations, there's reasons to. Yeah. So I'm not going to get into the vaccine debate, though, because that's a whole different topic.
But it can be fairly well proven autism is not caused by vaccines.
No, it's not. And if someone wants to fight me on that,
come find us.
Yeah.
So, one thing that you mentioned in the misconception of autism is fake is you were talking about how things are developed, and you mentioned like motor skills or develop memory and things. And then one thing that a lot of people will very often say is how autistic people are the term is gifted. They're
Mm.
very gifted. They're very special, I guess,
Yeah.
in different
You're
things.
saying
They're
like
the
special
most,
talents or something.
yeah, talents. That's the
Sure.
word I was trying to think of. In like the biggest one you hear of is like math. I would think that's probably the
Sure.
biggest. But there's so many other things. Um, but you have an argument against this.
I do. Because so people are like, oh, they're gifted or they're special. First of all, they have the ability to be smart. They have the ability to learn, to develop. And it is true that there are some people that have gotten very far that were autistic. Like, one example would be like Elon Musk. Nikola Tesla is another. So there's some I'd say anecdotal evidence to back it up. But I don't think that's what's going on here, having worked with autistic kids, because most of them are not gifted, right? Most of them don't have an extreme talent in, like, instrument playing or mathematics or science or the STEM field. I mean, a few of them understand things maybe beyond their years when it comes to logical things. But for the most part, it's not as much giftedness as it is obsession.
Yeah.
Okay? So anyone who has an autistic friend or an autistic child or an autistic brother or sister knows about obsessions, where there's something that they can't stop thinking about. They talk to you about it all the time, and that is just something they're always enveloped in. My brother has recently been into Linux. That's his latest obsession.
Tech, for those of you that don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. Linux
Linux.
is like Windows, but more confusing, and you have to know code.
Yes.
And he has been telling me all about it, how he got the KDE kernel, and he's customizing it with SKL. I don't know. He's literally using the most difficult version of the most difficult operating system and customizing it. And now he's also dual booting Windows, only because DaVinci Resolve won't work with the specific kernel of Linux that he did.
Yeah.
So he has two operating systems on his computer. This isn't even a really nice computer. He's just pushing it to its max. It's so fun though to see. And it's not that he's especially good at computers. I would say we're about the same, me and him. But he's very interested.
Mm-hmm. He's been learning and studying. I think we could say tech in general, but more specifically computers and coding and that stuff for many years.
I want to say 7 or 8.
Yeah.
With the Bits box.
Yeah.
The
So
subscription.
for like
and so
6, maybe 7 years.
Yeah.
He's been specifically studying. So yes, he's very good at this very random thing that a 13-year-old isn't usually amazing at.
Yeah.
But he's also been, like, he's leaps and bounds ahead of where he was when he started.
Oh yeah, when he started, I was teaching him.
Yeah.
And now he's teaching me.
Yeah.
Because he just was so obsessed with it that he just kept learning.
Something about this, I actually heard of a guy that had that same argument that gifted or like child prodigies is not a real thing. His thought was, if you start teaching them and you focus on that, so essentially obsession, when they're young, then once they get to early teens, they'll be known as a child prodigy. So he took his 2 daughters that were like 3 and 4 years old, or maybe he started them at 4. So like the one was 4, and then when the other one turned 4 and obsessed over teaching them chess. By 12, 13 years old, they could beat pretty much anybody.
Yeah.
And they were known as child prodigies, but it was just that they didn't have autism, they didn't have anything like that. They were just very focused in what they learned.
Yeah.
And so to help your point, it's not something that is specific to autism.
Mm-hmm.
The gifted is just obsession.
And that's also something for you guys to think about, even if you're not autistic, is you could make the excuse, well, I don't know, I can't do it as well as them. I'm not as talented. And it's like, no, you just need to do it more.
Just try it.
Do it more. Be more obsessed. Be more interested, and you'll get better.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear about, like, Michael Jordan. He wouldn't stop. He would play, and I want to say he was there practicing before anyone else, and he left after everyone else.
Yep.
He wouldn't go to parties. He wouldn't go out drinking with his buddies. He was practicing all the time to the point where people were concerned. And then he won, like, all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's... And then the last one is that, like, autism is wrong, or, like, a problem to be fixed, or an issue to be solved, right?
Yeah. So that's, like you and I were talking about earlier, it's not necessarily something that somebody would necessarily just outright say autism is wrong.
Yeah.
But a lot of people give that idea of, like, in the words that they say, and just kind of like, essentially the idea of, if you think you're autistic, then you're wrong, fix yourself and be more normal.
And again, this is one I hear a lot more for high functioning. Where it's like, no, you're just overly sensitive, or you're just socially awkward, or you just need to, you just need to stop being what you're being, and you'd be fine. And I think that is not good, because autistic people can't help who they are. They can't help being autistic. Now, they can also be brats just like any other kid.
Oh, yes.
And adult. Like, that's not to excuse them for their behavior. If someone is acting inappropriately, they're acting appropriately. But you do need to handle it differently. Yes. You do need to care about them in different ways and understand that you're not going to be able to do everything the same. And that's where, like, knowing your kid well, or your friend well, or your brother or sister well, and knowing their intentions, and knowing, getting to know them allows you to just understand more about them. And it's better, the Bible says, judge not according to the appearance, but judge a righteous judgment. So we need to have the Lord's help to judge righteously.
And so this kind of leads into the thought of, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do with autism?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, it was like, that idea of autism is wrong is really a really lazy way of looking at it. Like, I don't feel like dealing with this, so I'm just gonna say, I need you to shape into the mold of every other neurotypical human out there. And
sometimes they use meds. That was the other point I forgot to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
Is they say it's not wrong, but then they try to medicate everything out of them. They try to medicate all of the hyperfixation and obsession. They try to medicate anything that is making your life more difficult or that would be too hard to accommodate for. They try to medicate out of them, which has its own host of problems.
Yeah.
Because side effects exist and they're really bad. That was my other point that I forgot to add.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, to your
But it
point,
kind of fits in with this.
it does fit in because it treats them like they're inferior. They need to be drugged. They need to be changed.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's one way not to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for those of us who we would label neurotypical.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to handle it a little bit different when you have a friend, a sibling, who is autistic. You do have to handle it a little bit different, but at the same time, the basics of how you treat that person, how you interact and deal with them, is technically not at all different.
Correct.
Because the basics is you have to love that person, especially those of us who are Christians. We understand that God loves us, and we can we see that, like, we have to have that godly love for all the people around us, whether they're neurotypical, whether they're autistic, whether they have
Down syndrome,
anything else. There's still just that basic starting point is to love them as another human being and then get to know them. That's the biggest thing, which we don't actually do enough.
Yeah.
Not only with autistic people, but with anybody.
Yeah, we're really quick to make judgment according to the appearance rather than getting to know them. Because, like, I know there's certain things that, like you said, certain things are different, certain things are exactly the same. One big thing I like to think about is, two things, is talk to them, ask them.
Yes.
They know what they want. I have one friend that other people had actually, like, gotten upset with me for being very blunt, and to them it was very rude to him. And I checked with him later, and he's like, no, I really like it when you do that, because otherwise they don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, sweet, I'm going to keep doing it no matter what people say.
Yeah.
But that was because I checked in with him, because I was like, I don't want to be, treating him like a child. And that's the other thing. Just because they have some developmental issues doesn't mean you treat them like a 4-year-old. If they're 13, talk to them like they're 13.
Yes.
If they're 28, talk to them like they're 28. If they're 7, talk to them like they're 7. Like, treat them at their age. You might have to rephrase something or repeat something.
Yeah.
But you don't patronize and baby talk someone just because they have autism, because they don't like that. For the most part, I don't know of any of them that would say they want to be baby talked.
Yeah. And another big thing is to be patient.
Yes.
That's, well, again, fits with everybody, but especially somebody who has one of those obsessions with something. Be patient. Like, let them actually talk about it. Now, if they're getting to the point where they're just kind of rambling and maybe repeating a bunch of stuff, like,
you can point that out to them.
Point out, be like, you already told me that. Is there something else? And just be patient with them.
Yep.
Any advice to somebody who is maybe watching this who has autism?
I would say, first of all, wow, what would my advice? I'm always talking to, like, parents.
Yeah.
or friends of autistic people. People with autism, first of all, you're not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Please do not beat yourself up for being different.
Yeah.
I know other people do sometimes, and it hurts. But the correct response is not to beat yourself up because other people beat you up. It's to still rely on the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
All right? The Lord is your strength. I know Paul talked about having a thorn in the flesh, but God said, my grace is sufficient for thee.
Mm-hmm.
Rely on God's strength, His grace. And the other thing is, be clear with your friends if something bothers you, or if you want to be treated differently, because there is some people, and this isn't your fault, this is just the way the world is, that they don't understand what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They might not be trying to hurt you, or they might not be trying to confuse you, because certain things they'll say, you're just like, wait, what did they say? And just be clear with your friends of, I didn't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe ask, like, hey, can you explain that differently?
Can you explain that differently? I'm not sure what you meant.
Mm-hmm.
Just using words like that. And good friends will say, oh, yeah. And they'll explain it to you. And if they laugh at you, or if they get upset with you, they are not good friends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that, but it is true. They're not good friends for you if they do not take time to be patient and be good friends, because that's what they're supposed to be with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So just remember that. You are not broken. You're different. And if other people are treating you bad because you're different, then that's their fault. But also, with that, I just need to mention, doesn't mean you're off the hook for sin.
Yes.
If you get mad, you should not get mad. You need to work on that. You can have help with that, but you need to work on that. If you're not doing something that you should be doing, you should not blame your autism. You should work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, you might need some help, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we don't blame our circumstance, our situation, or our issues for our sin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's true for anyone. Whether it's a financial situation, a circumstantial situation, position where you are, like if you're at home, if you have a good job, a bad job, a good church, a bad church, none of it should be an excuse to do wrong or an excuse for sin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, and I think that very cleanly wraps up our episode on autism.
I just realized because of that bit we did in the beginning, we did not explain what we were drinking.
Oh no.
Let's quick do that before we end it.
We've redone some homemade lemonade, although I experimented today.
Yeah.
It's lemonade with watermelon and blueberry syrup. It's a little different.
It tastes kind of like kombucha. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And mine has 2 gnats in it, so that's fun.
Yeah. Protein.
At least one is alive. Anyway.
Fiber.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a bit of, I don't know, I want to say a meaty episode. Well, they both were. So next week is probably going to go even further down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Of the next week is going to be interesting.
Join us next week.
Yeah, you do not want to miss next week. It's going to be fun. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching.
And we'll hopefully in the future be able to bring in more experts on topics.
I agree, because this and maybe tech, and then after that I'm kind of out of expertise. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.